to bring to the stage the directors of Deadgirl,
Daddy Harrell, and Marcel Fernando.
Actually, couldn't we get the spot in the, no spot? We just want to be in the shadows? All right. Yeah, it actually will dark.
House lights or something.
So I'm curious to know, I mean, this script was floating around, this was done by Frank Haga, who used to work with Trauma, and it had been floating around Hollywood for around 7 years and was kind of considered unproducible. As you guys, your first film, why did you choose this script?
Well, we read it and we just, we couldn't put it down. And actually went to Trent and said, Trent, do you have any scripts where we can make a movie together? And he gave us this big pile of scripts. And then there's one on the shelf. He said, what's that? He said, not that one, not that one, not that one. No, you can't make that one. And we said, well, we're going to read that one. And we took it home, we read it, and we called each other, and we just were like, wow, like, this is crazy. And we couldn't put it down, we couldn't get it out of our mind. And we went back to him and we said, Trent, I think we won't change it too much, but we'll just try to make a movie out of it that's watchable. That's, and it took a while, it took about a year to convince him, and we finally convinced him, we worked on the script for about a year, and then we raised the money and shot it.
Because when it was first described to me in February, I was like, ugh. It's this type of thing that if you're telling someone, I mean, especially before you've seen it, I mean, it's a film which could go one way quite well, or one way really sleazy and exploitive, and but you guys pulled it off. It's actually remarkably restrained. But the other thing I should point out to the audience is that what you saw was totally digital. On Saturday, Daddy arrived hours before the screening with a little suitcase and a little tiny drive, and it's just been plugged in, and so that's what you saw. No film at all, even in the process.
Tapes.
Talk about them? Yeah. I believe we have JT in the house. No, Siegel.
So Steven Spade.
No, Siegel. No coffee yet. Do we have any questions from the audience? No. Don't be shy. Someone in the back, maybe? And then, yes, they're inside.
What did your parents think after the first screening?
They were all here. They said they were very proud.
I can say I showed a rough cut to my whole family for Thanksgiving about a year ago or whatever, and they loved it. I mean, it was the best Thanksgiving dinner talk we ever had.
Actually, they said, wow, that looks like a real movie.
What can you tell us about the actress who played the dead girl? How did you wrangle her, and what was her daily schedule when she would come into shot?
So to speak. She was usually shackled at about 7:30 a.m.
Actually, she was great. It was the toughest part to cast, and for all sorts of obvious reasons. And we started trying to cast in LA with the usual suspects for this type of role. Started showing up, and they were just not the way we wanted to go for many obvious reasons. So we had a hard time. We had a friend who said, I know somebody who lives out in Michigan or Milwaukee or something like that, and she might be into this. And we sent her the script, and she called us and said, I love it, guys, and this is really interesting. I get it. And she put herself on tape, and we asked her to act like an animal, and she just sort of improvised, and her instincts were great, and she was a real partner in making it because, for so many reasons, on a scale like ours, and a time frame, short shoot, and low budget, and everything, we needed someone who was, really willing to go out there and not cause any problems or anything. She was probably the easiest cast member to work with. No offense to any of our great cast members, but she's great, and she made the crew feel great, and her comfort level would determine how the whole shoot went. She was extremely comfortable, and we did everything we could to make her as comfortable as we could, and I think she did a great job. So we're lucky.
And we had your makeup guy here the other night who was explaining it was like 2 or 3 hours.
Hours every day.
3, 4.
Sometimes we didn't have enough time to do her whole body, so we just have to do her face and shoot her from neck down.
One sort of interesting thing, the scene towards the end, if you remember when she's bursting through the door, we literally ran out of time to do her makeup, and she could only do her face. So we had to hire some guys to darken her body just so it would match, because might not have looked that great here, but when it was wrong, it was like white skin, and then his face. So they digitally colored her body in those couple of shots and things. So we just ran it. Sometimes there just wasn't time, and it took so long to do that makeup. So.
And I'd also like to add that when I first met these guys, when I saw the film in Los Angeles in April, I'd never really talked to you guys before, and you picked me up to take me to the editing suite to ask if you were familiar with the film festival and familiar with the Midnight Madness program, and they had come up to Toronto and seen films in the Midnight Madness audience. So audience members coming back with the film. Do we have any questions? Yes, in the center, sir.
How long did it take to develop, like how long was the entire process from day one when you read the script to, seeing the film?
I'd say we probably worked on the script for about a year, and then the money came pretty quick. Once we decided we were ready to shoot it happened really fast. So there probably about a year to get the script from the first draft to the shooting version.
Yeah, I mean, it took, I think also there was about a year in between after we had the script that we did some other stuff. And so, I mean, a couple of years. But once we actually were really working on it, we said, okay, we're going to make this movie, we got to raise the money. I think it's about 6 to 8 months to get it off the ground and set a date. And like most movies, you sort of set the date and you're going to start shooting whether it's ready to go or not. And it always just sort of ends up working, and you show up and you start shooting. And so, yeah.
With the film, you brought a real insight into the lives of boys. Because when you're a boy, you go out and do weird things. You go hang out with your friends, and the whole idea that this guy is going to be your best friend for the rest of your life, and all that can change. Can you talk about how you worked on developing that, and how did you react when you read the script?
How did you develop it?
How did you react to it?
How did you react to it, actually? And what did you bring to the character of JT?
It was a fable from the beginning for me, and the more that I think about it, and the more that I talk to people who've seen the film, once you get beyond the extremes, which any good morality tale has, right? That's what it is. It's a film about friendship, and a very specific kind of friendship that I think that you have as a young man, or as you become a young man. And in a way, it's sort of like your first serious relationship, especially for guys like this. I was a high school dropout. I was a punk kid. I didn't have any friends. And I think if you don't have a tight family, if you don't have all these things that these guys didn't have, it makes sense that they would be so committed to one another. And we see that from so early on in the film. We're committed to that so early on in the film that even though it's relatively early on in the film that they split up, I feel like it's still significant, We're looking for them to get back together,
My favorite line in it is, you've got JT's swagger and smoking and drinking, and at the end, don't tell my grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shows that he's just a kid. Anyone else in the audience have anything? Yes, sir.
Just wondering how your relationship with the co-directors actually worked on set. Like, was one of you in charge of the camera itself, like setting the shots and then working with the actor, or did you guys just that work?
And it was a lot more fluid than that. We developed the script for so long together. We had a long working relationship, so it wasn't one thing or another. It was we were just kind of kept moving in and out of the same position. So, one person would be on set, maybe one person would be back at the monitor, and then someone else would be upstairs talking to special effects.
At least for Shallow.
Somebody was always around, but I think it was kind of this dance that we kept moving around doing.
We also were, Guy and I were wired together, so we constantly were in communication when no one else, the crew couldn't hear us, and we were just like our own little signal. And also, just to go back to how we shot it, the digitally and everything, we use this thing called the Codex system, which is used on Speed Racer and the James Bond movie. We were the first one to use it, we were sort of the test subject. And the camera sort of connected with this big cord to this little big machine. So you're sort of walking back and forth between the set and this machine, and have two people moving back and forth constantly, and one guy looking at how it's looking, one guy there on the set, and sort of interchanging. It was just really easy, and we're constantly talking to each other. And I think these guys, you probably can suspend me. I think when one of us showed up or the other one, you really made no difference. It just sort of one and the same.
No, yeah, it was. Yeah, that